What's up, guys? I'm on day 75 of the Odin Project, and I'm going to just jump into what I did today with the Where's Waldo app because I got a lot done. Just as a high overview of what was done today, I created several screens for the flow of the game. So a start screen just to get the user into the app and to allow them to then start the timer. That will then go to the default screen, which is the game screen. It has the image, has some instructions, shows the characters. Then once they're done with the game, they found all the characters, it'll go to an end screen. The end screen will allow them to put their username in and submit their high score, or submit their score. And then once their score is submitted, a leaderboard screen will pop up. And then ideally I would want it to be able to go back so that they can play again, but I'm still working on that. But that's the high level overview of what I did today. So let's jump into what that looks like, because there's a lot going on today. So I'm going to start off where I left off yesterday. Specifically, there was this change character found function that I had a problem with. I was getting an error from eslint that within JSX you shouldn't be passing functions as properties. And I looked into it a bit more and I relearned about useCallback. And that essentially prevents this problem of if you were to just pass the function as a property for a component, every time that component is then rendered, then that function is essentially rebuilt. So then every single time, if you use that component a lot, then you're going to also rebuild that function a lot. It's going to create an inefficiency. So the use callback allows that function to still be passed as a prop, but to not have to be rendered every single time that the component is rendered. So that's how I got around that error and also learned about the kind of efficiencies related around props. So that's that. There's actually a bit more in this function today, but we're going to come back to that a little bit later. First, I'm going to go down to the rendering portion of the application. So I'm going to go all the way down. This is not going to be super new right here, but this is related to the actual screens that are coming up. So I have some logic that is checking whether or not specific states are true for those screens. And if so, then those screens will then pop up on the screen. So this is the default. So this is what I had essentially yesterday. I didn't have a start screen. This was just showing, going right into the game, giving these simples and instructions, and then showing the characters and generating the scene. And that was okay, but I wanted a bit more of a flow to the game, so I added a start screen, and specifically I added a start screen state, which is defined above, but the logic is down here for the return statements, return rendering within React. So if that start screen is set to true, then it will actually return Where's Waldo as this screen over here with the start button. And so that's actually the default because the state that is set for start screen starts out as true. So then we have that. It's fairly simple getting that actual start screen in, a lot simpler than what I actually thought it was going to be. So that's how we have this. And then this button actually has a handle start click function that's associated with it. So this handle start click function, once that start button is clicked, the user will then go to the game, which will be this default down here. The start screen will be set to false, and then this will be returned. So it'll be the scene, the image. So I'll show you guys what that looks like here. We click on it, boom, this is shown up. A timer starts. That's something that's new. So here's that handle start click function. Once that's clicked, the set start screen will be set to false, so it'll change the start screen to the display scene, which is what we've seen over here. And then it's going to set a start time. That start time is going to be used within this set interval within the function getTime as an argument. GetTime is what's going to be utilized to actually make this timer click. So that start time is going to be compared with the current time, which every time that set interval is going, which is every second, it's going to get the new time and then compare that to the start time. And then that's going to be utilized down here within the new hours, new minutes, new seconds variables to actually calculate the next time that should be set within state. So those hours, minutes, and seconds are actually set within state, and we're going to set them down here. And then when we go back down to our timer component, those hours, minutes, and seconds are being utilized as props within the timer component. So that timer component is going to update every single time. So that's why we're seeing this UI changing over here. And so if we go into the timer component, it's actually pretty simple. We have those props coming through, and then we're using those props to actually generate the text that we see over here. So it's pretty simple for the timer. Let's take a look at the states for those real quick. So these are the actual states for the timer. They're set to 0, 0, because that's the default what I want populated just to start out. I also have some states for the final second, final minute, and final hour. So that'll be actually important for the calculating of how long it has taken for the user to have completed the game. So that'll be something we'll come back to. We're actually going to take a look at this function below, which is the function that is going to have some additional logic. This is the function that we had yesterday. It will change characters to found once they are found. And so that's what's going on up here. But then I also have this down here to actually make things happen as a result of that. So specifically, this is going to be looking at the new characters found, and it's going to detect when there is a character that's not found, so its found property is set equal to false. And since this is a dot sum, it's going to return that as soon as that condition is met. And this character is still not found. If there's one that's found to be false, it will be set equal to false. And if that is set equal to false, then this won't run right here, this condition right here, because this condition is looking to see if there's no more characters left, no more characters to be found, which is what's this exclamation point is negating the character still not found variable. And if there are no more characters to be found, then it's going to actually set the final hour, final minute, final second, which is these states up here. Those will be utilized later. I'll talk about those in a second. But then the final thing with this, once the final character is found, is that this end screen is going to be set to true. And once the end screen is set to true, we're going to go down here, and we're going to see that this is going to be rendered. We're going to have a message that says that they found them, you finished in this many hours, this many minutes, and this many seconds. Then enter your name and submit your score. So let me show you guys what this looks like over in the UI. Okay, so I found that last character. It took me 5 minutes, 27 seconds, definitely the slowest so far. But this is that end screen that's going to be rendered once the end screen is set to true after that final character is found. And so the user is instructed to enter their name. And then once they click submit score, this should actually take them to the leaderboard and it should submit their data. But unfortunately, as you guys can see here, I have actually reached my quota for the Firebase SDK and the API. So I am not having the functionality right here, but I'm going to try to show you something that I shared on Twitter that actually shows this. So here we have the users being entered. He hits enter, and then this is the leaderboard that is actually displayed. So I'll go into that a bit more right now. So handle submit score, that was the function that was actually being called when the user clicked on the submit score button. And so let's go back up here. This handle submit score has Firebase within it because we are trying to write the user's data to the database. And so this is a lot of the similar stuff that we saw yesterday in regards to the Firebase API, but what we're essentially trying to do here is take the user name, the user time to completion, hours, minutes, and seconds, and enter that into the database. So we have an ID that's generated for the user. The user's input is selected from the screen, and then also the hours, minutes, and seconds are taken from the state and actually used to set the user's score for the scene that they just completed. And so we're setting the doc. So this is all Firebase. But once that's done, we want to transition then from the end screen to the leaderboard display. And so that's what we have down here with these states. So again, using states to re-render the screen based off of what screen and what the flow is. So this is where the leaderboard's display becomes true. We then go down here, and this is the logic and the return statement for the leaderboard display. The first thing is actually retrieving the leaderboard data, which is this function. And we'll go up here real quick to check that out. Again, a bunch of Firebase that's going on here, a query that's being initiated, and then async and a way to get the promise from the database. But essentially what we're doing is getting the leaderboard data from this query, and this query is ordering it by the hours, minutes, and seconds, and it's specifically getting 20 from the database. I actually have this as the loser board. It's who takes the longest because it is in descending order for these. I kind of got that mixed up, so I'll have to edit that. But essentially I want this to be who are the fastest people that have completed this scene for the Where's Waldo game. So that's what I'm trying to get from the database here. And then once I actually get that board data and the promise is fulfilled, then it's going to set the leaderboard data state. And setting the leaderboard data state will actually be important down here in the rendering. So these elements should have been rendered, this play button should have been rendered, but then this leaderboard data would be waiting for the Firebase to return the data. And then once it is returned, the leaderboard data will be mapped over and a row will be given for the rank, the username, the hours, minutes, and seconds. So we can see that my app continued on and we are actually on the leaderboard page, but it's not displaying that stuff because I have reached my quota limit. But you guys saw that with the Twitter video that I showed you guys earlier with the actual displaying of the columns with appropriate data. That's all I have for you guys today. It was a lot that kind of went into today. So if you guys have any questions, definitely feel free to let me know. If you guys are interested in following my journey and Emily's journey into web development, she's getting back into vlogging, and we're going to have our weekly update at the end of this week. So hit subscribe if you're interested in seeing those videos, and I will see you guys tomorrow.